Hey y'all, and welcome back to another episode of the Tuesday Circle podcast. If you are new, we thank you for joining us today. My name is Markita with Angel 22,
Hey y'all, what's up? I'm Nick from Andrew 22.
and we thank you for being with us, for tuning into this week's episode. If you are new here, Angel 22, well, Tuesday Circle is not a spinoff, but it's just a continuation of Angel 22. So our platform and what we do is that we share our story. We share our journey of healing out loud in hopes to build community and help others that are dealing with the loss of a mom or a mom figure. So we share our story, things that we've been through, words of wisdom, try to be encouraging to others. So yeah, that's just a little bit about us. So this week's episode, we're in episode 206. So this week's episode, we're going to be kind of continuing on from what we talked about in last week's episode. But we're just going to dive right into everything. So before we get into what we're going to talk about today, we always open up our episode with the angel check-in. So when we do this, it is our hope that you too will also have someone that you can do an angel check-in with, or even if you just are self-reflecting. Our angel check-ins are times for us to check in with each other, to ask each other how we're feeling and how we have experienced our mom's presence this week. So we're going to go ahead and get right into that angel check-in. So, Nick, you want to start or you want me to start the angel check-in?
Um, I'll start. That's cool. I can start.
Okay.
Um, so the way in which I felt mommy presence this week, I'll say um, and I think it's just an everyday thing, and I won't even say this week, and I know I kind of spoke on this probably like the last time, but like
Mm-hmm.
just adulting every day, like every piece of adulting. I think like sometimes I be sitting there, I'm like, man, this is what like my mom was doing, and she was doing it by herself.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
So
always think
true.
about that. Like it's no way. Well, it is a way because she did it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
just the thought of like having to do everything, cook, clean, go to work, go to the grocery store, do this and do that
Yep.
for yourself, but then do it for two kids,
Times two.
right? You
Yeah.
right? So like I think like this week I just instead of like feeling her presence, I just kind of was reflecting, and I think it's all the time I just reflect
Mm-hmm.
on like how she was make it happen, like
Yep.
because sometimes it's hard just adulting for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? So then to add on having kids, it's like I truly commend her,
Yeah.
like, and I truly give her her flowers because
Mm-hmm.
she deserves them. Because like moms endure a lot,
Mm-hmm.
right? And a lot of times, parents, moms, dads, um, they can't always tend to themselves all the time,
Yeah.
right? So imagine just like yourself for people who may not have kids that are watching. Like
Mm-hmm.
imagine like you right now adulting and like imagine what your parents was going through. Same thing.
Yeah.
Either they got one child, two kids, six kids. Like just imagine like
Mm-hmm.
the amount of stuff that they go through, but they still make sure that they're still present in their kids' lives. They make sure that their kids don't want or need for anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say that's the way in which like I know it's kind of a spin on the question, but it's an everyday thing that I just think about, and I just feel so grateful to know that mommy literally made sure we was good. Like we
Yep.
didn't need or want for anything. And if
Yep.
we did,
We
she was
didn't
the only
know.
one who knew because
Yeah.
we didn't know. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I would say. Marquita, what would you say?
That's so good, and it's so true. I feel like you said a lot of things that hit so different now that we are adults, and life is different when you're in your 30s, and I feel like realities start to set in. And it's like 20s, you kind of figuring it out. And it's like, you're an adult, but it's like different. So you saying that is so true. So yeah. Okay. For me, I would say I didn't really feel mommy's presence this week, but similar to you, just reflecting when I was watching Rocky on Friday, and I had this thought in my mind, and I was like, um, I don't want to leave this earth not doing the thing that I love to do. And I don't know what that is for me. Like, I have not discovered that about myself. And it made me think about mommy, because we know mommy was good at hair. Like, she was always known for doing hair. And it made me kind of think about her, because I'm like, damn, like, she was good at it, but did she love to do it? Or was she doing it just because she was good at it? And that's kind of like what I like, where she was on my mind this week, because I was just thinking about all the things that she was good at doing. She was good at doing hair. She could skate. She was creative. She was good at networking. Like, it was so many things that she was good at. But I'm like, out of those things, what did she love to do? Did she feel like she left this earth fulfilling that, like, passion for doing something she loved? So that's kind of where, not necessarily her presence, but just thinking about her. Well, I guess that is a form of a presence, but just thinking about her, it just made me just think, like, what if, what did she love to do? Yeah. So that's what I would say for me.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty good. I never thought about it like that because I think from the outside looking in, just based on like, what we saw was that mommy loved to do hair.
Right.
Like, but also too, it's a two-side coin because it's like, well, we know that she had a love for it, but do we know whether or not she did it because she knew she needed to make the money?
Right.
Um, or and I'm not, and it's not to take away from the fact that like it could have been her passion, like it's something that
Mhm.
she loved to do. But when you really look at it outside of also doing hair, the same thing with teaching. Feel like
Yeah.
she was very
Right.
passionate about teaching,
Yep.
right?
How could I
Like,
forget that?
yeah, like, and that was like, a big nugget in her life is
Mhm.
her being in the classroom, like, and maybe just to spin on what you were saying, like maybe, I always think about it, or at least now I'm starting to think a little bit more, and I want to kind of coin what you said about like being in your 30s, like
Mhm.
it's a lot different. I feel like in your 20s life moves so fast, like everything is moving fast, and you
Yeah.
still trying to figure out where to put the pieces. But I feel like in your 30s things like slow down a little bit, so that way you can start to make sense of those pieces
Yep.
and then be like, okay, cool, well, this makes sense to put this here, right?
So true.
So with that, I feel like just and kind of reflecting on it is it's like, well, just reflecting on life period. Like I always want to be in a space where I'm able to serve others, whatever that may
Mhm.
look like, no matter how big or how small. So I wonder if mommy, that was her purpose, was to help serve others, no matter how big or small. And I think
Yeah.
if that is the case, I think we've seen a lot of that during her lifetime here.
Mhm.
Um, and I think also something for us to also kind of look at as well. Um, maybe that's why we're so passionate about serving others, because we saw her do the same thing.
For sure.
Right. So I don't know. That's just like something to just kind of add to what you were saying, because what
Yeah.
you were saying was like so golden. Because
Yeah.
you never really kind of think about that stuff. Earlier on in life, I feel like once you start to get a little bit settled,
Mhm.
um, Excuse me. And it's not, and it's not to say that you won't, you know, no matter your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, you're always going to be trying to figure something out in life.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to have everything figured out. But I think, to what you were saying, being in your 30s, I think, you know, things are a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even a little. I think it's a drastic change from your 20s to your 30s. I think things just click out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And you be trying to like figure it out, like, man, like, how did I get in this place?
Mm-hmm.
But it feels easier to maneuver in your 30s.
Yeah. I
For
feel like
some,
30s
not everybody.
you bringing the mirror out in your 30s.
Mm-hmm.
Like you really are looking at yourself from different lenses, like different perspectives. You're seeing stuff about yourself that you kind of overlooked because of how fast, like you said, your 20s go. I feel like 30 is like, okay, I feel like a lot of time God is sitting in the mirror right in front of you. And it's like showing you all the parts that you need to fix, you need to work on, the parts that are unhealed, the parts that are damaged, like it's just, whew, it's so much. And I didn't feel it when we actually turned 30. But I feel like, we're pressing on to 34 and it's starting to feel like, okay, like you might want to kind of do some, it's more like inner work. 30s to me feel like inner work. Like we got to go in here and declutter all this because it's, you just, you get tired after a while. You get tired of the same thing, the same cycle. It's like, it's almost like you just want to break out. That's kind of how it feels to me. Like it's a lot of soul work, inner healing, a lot of self correction, facing a lot of realities. It's just, yeah. But we can go on and on about that part. That's for sure. We can go on and on about that. But let's go ahead and dive into what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. We do hope, before we go on, that you were able to do your check-in. We hope that you were able to feel your mom's presence this week, whether it was in a dream, whether it was in a thought, whether it was something you smelled, something you ate, somewhere that you were that just made you think about her. We hope that it was something positive, that you were able to reflect on for this week for your check-in. So this episode, it's a heavy one, I would say. Um, and just when we were kind of going over what we were talking about today, I just had a thought in my mind, like, we've talked about this part of our story a lot. And I don't know if you feel the same way as I do, but I feel like there's a part of me that goes really numb and cold. And it's like I don't have the same emotion towards it. And I think that's kind of interesting. And it can be weird a little bit because it's like, well, why don't you? This is something I'm talking to myself about. Like, and I don't know why. You know how some people like they get choked up or they cry just talking about, you know, their mom passing. And to me, it's just like, I don't know where the disconnect is, for me in terms of that being the case. I don't know if it's because of how much time has went past and it's kind of like not fresh anymore. I don't know. Like, do you find that you feel that same way?
Yeah, for sure. I think so I get conflicted.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm saying that is because, like, sometimes I do feel a little like jolt in my
Mm-hmm.
body when I talk about it sometimes. I do feel emotional sometimes about it, but not all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's from, like, you know, and I'm not saying this in a bad way to offend other people, but I don't know if it's because, like, we was robbed of like if we was robbed of that, meaning people saying, no, you gotta stay busy, like, or
Mhm.
everything gonna be okay. Like, just keep your head up. And it's like it forces you to be strong in the area in which you shouldn't have to feel like you gotta carry all that weight by yourself. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and you know, I don't know, and maybe it's just kind of like the debunking like the stigma around like,
Mhm.
oh well, your mom wouldn't want you to be sad,
Right.
or they wouldn't want you to be crying.
Mhm.
It's like,
How do you know that?
yeah, right.
Mhm.
And then, but that's what I mean by like being robbed of that essentially, because it's like
Yeah.
we live under those stigmas. Like, all right, well, chest out, chin up, don't be crying. You get what I'm saying? Like your mother
Mhm.
passed away. It's okay to be in your feels, but don't be crying, or don't like. It's almost like you can't show emotion,
Yeah.
like. And so now that we're in a space right now where we are finally being able to unpack those things, I think that's also something that I feel like we're gonna be working backwards on,
Oh, that's so good.
because
Mhm.
like I feel like you know, and it's crazy because I won't cry in front of other people if I talk
Yeah.
about mommy, but if I'm thinking about mommy to myself, sometimes I might just cry. You get what
Yep.
I'm saying? Like,
And
but I
that's
don't.
so crazy because we won't cry in front of each other.
Yeah, like it's
Like,
very rare. It's so crazy to think that like it's very like I think when we talked about mommy, not talked about mommy. I think sorry, that's not what I meant to say. When we cried, I don't even remember you crying when mommy passed away. I don't.
I,
I know I was crying, but I don't even remember like even and even still like and I know we'll talk a little bit more about it in this episode. Um, when you went back there to view the body, I'm like, did you cry? And you like, no. And I'm
I don't
like,
think so. And I don't know, like, why. Like, I don't know. It's so identical to you. Like, by myself, and if I'm in my own space by myself, the thoughts of it can make me cry. But it's just around other people. I always felt like I had to be strong for you, and I feel like, and vice versa, you felt the same for me. Like we were trying to be strong for each other, not realizing that the true strength is in us being together, but being vulnerable with each other. That's the true strength because it's like we had each other to lean on, so why not? But yeah,
but that's why I said we're gonna be learning it backwards
yep,
because okay, so for our viewers out there, I know this may sound really crazy. But I think not even I think me and my sister are working on that part of our relationship, being a little like being more vulnerable. Um because we struggle with that, right?
mhm,
Like, and so I don't know. It felt like it was part of a troop or something. I don't know, but but like now we're kind of in like a softer, trying to be in a softer
yeah,
era of our life and like working
mhm,
through like kind of like cracking that shell to
yep,
get to the inner part of like dealing with being vulnerable emotionally, being vulnerable
mhm.
spiritually, being vulnerable physically, because Markita will tell you I didn't start hugging my sister until last year.
I don't think it was before that.
What you think? Like, but I'm
I
saying
would
like for
say,
me to ask you for like a
y-
hug,
yeah, I would say over the course of like the past like 3 years or so,
you right, three
you've
years,
become more open about showing interest in wanting. I will hug you, but you weren't going to outright be like, let me get a hug, or like it just wasn't in your nature to do
correct?
that. I think you've softened up a lot. But I'm
Yeah,
saying over the past few years, like it's, I think within this last year, it's gotten to a point where it's become so natural
mm-hmm.
to you that it don't feel like a tug and pull. It's just flows, you know.
Yeah, right on point.
That's
So
that's what I would say.
so yeah, we trying to work on that for sure.
Yeah. So I think I put that out there before we talk about what we talk about because I don't want just for anybody to anybody watching, I don't want you to have the wrong impression of what strength looks like. And because we can have this conversation and you may not see us shed a tear this entire episode, I don't want you to think that we're still not impacted by that loss. Um, and by the experiences that we've had. I don't want you to think that this is this is how it should be for you. Like I wanted to kind of give that context so that you understand like it's truly a struggle for us and this is why we are intentional about healing out loud and being that example. So with all of that said, we are going to just go ahead and dive right in to this episode. So this episode, well, episode 205, we talked about, being having to rush home and our mom flatlining and we had to come home for an emergency visit to see her in the hospital, all of these things. So this is kind of like picking up from that, a continuation of that part of the story. So when we got back, we did everything we needed to do at school in terms of finals, finishing out finals and all of that other stuff. And I think for me, when it got to the end, like us packing up our stuff and knowing that school was ending, I think that was when I had the shift. Like, is college was fun. We had a great, grand, excellent time. But I think the idea of going home and not knowing what that was going to look like kind of played with my mind a little bit before we, got home. So I don't even remember. Okay, so let's problem solve. Mommy passed away on May 22nd, which we've talked about this in short about the meaning behind 22 for us. And not to spend too much time on it, we can dive into it at another time, but we were born February 22nd and our mom passed away May 22nd. So we're really big on 22, which is how we created the name Angel 22. But mommy passed away on May 22nd. So it's safe to assume that we came home the week before that. Let's just, for context, we came home the week before May 22nd of 2012. And when we came home, it was a lot of uncertainties. Our mom was still in the hospital. And at this point, she was on life support. She was pretty much a vegetable. That's the terminology that they used at the hospital. It was just basically mean, in short, that she was brain dead and that the machine was breathing for her. So and I want to say she was on a life support since she had the heart attack, if I'm not mistaken, right, Nick?
Yeah, yeah, that's true because that's what
Hmm.
kept her alive essentially. Yeah.
Right. So she was on the life support, and when we came home, we stayed with, so we stayed with our uncle and our aunt. But we were back and forth in and out the hospital, going to see mommy, and we had to have a conversation. It was a very tough conversation. A lot of medical terms is being thrown around. We didn't understand nothing. And at this point, mommy was for sure not responsive, not alert. I mean, she practically was pretty much gone,
Yeah, because she had a brain and
essentially.
she had a so just for add a little bit of extra context to that. So I know like we talked about like us rushing back or whatever because she had a heart attack and had flatline, right? So she was still coherent at that time. She just couldn't talk, but she was still coherent. So now where Markita is in the story, by the time we got back home from school, she had a brain aneurysm.
Hmm.
So she that's what turned her into a vegetable.
Yeah. So, I think that was a true depiction for me of what the term like selfish look like. And I feel like it would have been selfish of us to continue her on that breathing machine just because. And it's a thin line between being hopeful and being selfish. I feel like us going home when she had the heart attack and, she was able to kind of like bounce back from that, that's to me is hopeful. Like, okay, she made it out of this. She had some, deterioration in her health, but, there's hope that things can turn around. But at the point of the story where I'm at, um, knowing that the machine is doing everything for her and she has no life of like, I don't know if life is the right word, but she has no like true strength of her own to do anything. That to me would have been selfish of us to not sit down and entertain the conversation, no matter how hard it was. And I think knowing how much mommy was suffering, she was just laying there like it was like, yeah, we want her to stay around because we didn't really have a formal goodbye. And we really didn't. Um, so I feel like, it was a hard decision to make, and I'll never forget her boyfriend at the time. He was there with us, and we trusted him a lot. So he was in the medical field, and he was explaining to us, and me and Nick talk about this often, like just I his face, I can never forget his face and the tears rolling down. It's like it was like streams of tears from him crying, having to explain, knowing like, okay, we're at the point where we're gonna have to pull the plug. Like we really don't have no other choice. And it was a lot for me. Like I'll allow Nick to explain like where her mind was in that moment, but for me, I was extremely overwhelmed. Like because I didn't understand, we had just came home a month before that and we had to experience her having a heart attack. So then it's like now it's like, okay, you're talking about having to pull the plug and just basically wait until she passed. Like it was just so overwhelming. Like that's the only word that I can use to describe it. It was just like, what are y'all even talking about? Like I know what y'all talking about, but it's like it was a lot for me to take in. Nick, how would you say you felt in that moment? Just us having to have those conversations about what the next step was going to be for mommy.
I think the same thing. I think I think the same. I think um little bit anxious about
Mhm.
having to make the decision, I think. But I never felt like I was in a pickle. Like I
Hmm.
already knew the decision that I
Okay.
wanted to make. I already
Yeah.
knew the decision I wanted to make. Because of all that you said, right? Like
Mhm.
it never crossed my mind to be like, oh, maybe we shouldn't.
Mhm.
It was a no brainer. So I think, just kind of, but also, and I guess that's also a part of like a little bit of people pleasing, worrying about what everybody else was feeling.
Yeah.
Um, but what I will say, the people that were in the room never made us feel pressured
For
to
sure.
make any decision. They allow us to discuss it amongst ourselves
Mhm.
between me and Markita for us to deliver to them what we wanted the decision to be,
Yeah.
solely because obviously we weren't old enough to make the decision. So we
Mhm.
had to have them there um, to actually tell the doctor, like, this is what we want to do. This is what, the girls are choosing to do. So this is what we'll do. So.
Mhm. Yeah. So, um, and I don't vividly remember like the moment we came to the conclusion. I just know we came to the conclusion that that's what we were going to do. We were going to. We made a decision to take her off all the machines. We didn't want her on any machines, and we just needed to kind of wait it out and see what would happen. So at the time, once we made that decision, I do vividly remember us leaving. We left the hospital and we went to get something to eat. I
Well, you
remember
got
that.
you got backtrack.
Mhm.
So, because we always talk about this would be certain stuff that Marquita remember that I may not, and vice versa.
Yep.
So let's backtrack before we end up actually leaving the hospital. We ended up, so once we made a decision to say, yes, this is what we're going to do, the
Mhm.
doctors basically said, okay, do you all want to see her for the last time?
I don't remember that.
No, but this is the part that you will remember about this part.
Uh-huh.
So we go in the back. I remember it was us two, um, and our uncle, our mom's brother.
Mhm.
We go in the back, and at this point, like our mom just looks, she's gone already. At this point, the machine is just rattling her body, just doing the work. This never leaves my mind.
Mhm.
And
Mhm. Okay. It's
yeah,
coming back to me.
so we just kind of looking, and when I say it was the most devastating thing to ever see in my life,
Mhm.
I was just like, I honestly couldn't believe that this is what we had to do. Like I
Yeah.
can't believe that we've gotten to a point where it's like, no, like our mom is literally about to pass away. Like
Mhm.
is and there's no preparing for it. It's like, I think that made me super emotional for a very long time. And I'm not saying that it doesn't still,
Yeah.
but at that time, like every time I think about it, I feel like I'm in the room all over again.
Mhm.
And I remember my mom's brother being like, Sean, I got the girls. Like, you can rest
Yep.
now.
Mhm.
And she took this big, deep breath, like,
Yep.
and then that was it after that.
Mhm.
Like, so, me and Marquita got a chance to say our goodbyes to her. Um, and then after that, we ended
We
up
left.
leaving.
Yes. I remember that. Okay. Okay. Yes, that part I did forget. I do remember that part. Um, and like you said, it was very devastating. I feel like between the time we came home and the time that I saw her when she had the heart attack and we talked about last episode and the part you just mentioned, I feel like those were two moments that will like it when you talk about it, it does put you back in the room. Like you feel like you are there again. And it was sad because we never ever ever saw our mom like that ever. So that was just like it was a lot. It was a lot to take in. Um, so we, and I will say that there was a very small part of me that still felt hopeful. That still felt like this could turn around. Just something because even us leaving, I didn't feel like she was completely gone, even though she probably was. I didn't feel like she was. To me, it was just like, no, I'm going to wait until we get the official phone call. So we left, and I'll never forget with the Applebee's. And no sooner than we sat down and got our menus to order the food, we got the call. Um, and I don't, and I, this is, this is going to tie back into the things that I was trying to give context around before we got into all of this stuff is that when we got the phone call that she officially passed away, my immediate my immediate reaction wasn't to cry. It wasn't to cry. It wasn't even to hug my sister. Like I immediately jumped up and was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to call everybody." And it was I don't know like, and I do beat myself up about that because I'm just like, girl. what I don't know. Like I just it wasn't. I didn't have like a breakdown feeling. It just felt like I had to just tighten up. Like I don't know why it was like that. But I remember I think I might have asked you, did you want to make the calls or should I make them?
Well, I don't even know honestly because the only thing I remember is that we literally called. I think you called Godmother, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that you told her, and she came around there on two wheels and picked us up,
Yeah. I
and
know I
you.
called godmother. I called both our godmothers. I called best friend and it's one other person.
Oh no, and I think I may have called. I think I may have called Keisha too. I think I may have called her because her and Kiba was there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we took turns calling, certain people to tell them, what was going on. Um, and even okay, I did cry, and I didn't cry until I started talking to best friend, and I remember her saying like, "I'm so sorry, best friend. Are you okay?" And I just broke down. I do remember that. And I feel like that was the only moment I really gave myself permission to have. I don't know. And nobody told me to adapt this strong person. Like nobody directly assigned it to me. It just was something I felt like I had to take on and I don't know. I don't know why. Um so once we made those phone calls, we went back, we went back to the hospital and all of the technicalities happened from there. Just um where her body was gonna go, funeral homes, all of that stuff. We got to view her body before they. And you talk about this too, Nick, which I want you to kind of speak about. Because sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. But just her being in that unopened body bag.
Yeah. So, um, and obviously that's not something that like I saw right off the bat. I didn't know until um, and maybe I should just kind of story tell here just a little bit. So, like Marquita said, we go back to the hospital or whatever.
Mhm.
We all rush back to the room. Um, and mind you, the waiting room is already full of people already. It started to fill up with because everybody is telling everybody else that our mom had passed away. So it was people. I remember we got off the elevator and like as I'm like clearing the room with my eyes, I'm seeing like some of her friends are there. But at that point we didn't stop. We had to like we trying to blitz to get back there.
Mhm.
So we get back there or whatever. And so, at this time family and stuff was able to come back there with us. Because the room was super packed. I remember the room was super packed with people. And that which in no way, shape, or form was overwhelming at all.
Mhm.
We needed all the support we could get.
Yeah.
And so I remember I couldn't stop crying because I just couldn't believe it. Like I was in disbelief. And so, you know, now Marquita tell you, because I guess we'll get there after. But typically, I think that was enough for me. I'm gonna just say it like this. I think it was enough for me to see her that way because when the viewing came, I didn't go and view her.
Mhm.
But at that time, I'm like rubbing on her head, and I'm trying to like feel for her hand so I can hold her hand,
Mhm.
and I couldn't get her hand, and I'm like, yo, I'm like, what? Like, what is going on? Like, where's her hand at? So I go to like lift the sheet up and she's in the bag. So they have the covers like up to like her neck. So the more I started to analyze, because I'm like, that for me, like I got super emotional, like at that point too. Like I like the tears just kept flowing. Like so, you know, they got crafty with it and put the blanket up to here, but they zipping it up to about like here.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had her head out. But think about if you got a hood on and you tuck it behind your ears. That's kind of how like the body bag at the top of her head was kind of like it kind of like molded back here. But I couldn't tell first glimpse because everything is white. The body bag is white. The sheets
Mm-hmm.
are white. The
I
pillow
thought it
was
was
white.
black.
No, the body bag was white.
Oh.
Um, and so yeah, that's how I found out that she was in the body bag because I mean, they did a good job dressing it up, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, and that was extremely rough for me. Like that was it was bad, and I didn't like say it to nobody. Like oh my gosh, they got in a body bag already. Like I just kind of kept that with myself. Like okay, I just put the blanket back down. Um, and I was just like caressing her hair. That was something she hated me doing when she was here. She ain't like me all rubbing all on her head and all that, but I finally got the chance to do it. And like I was just in disbelief,
Mm-hmm.
and I I still remember that. Like, and I think like we talked about. I don't know if we talked about this before or not, but and I think me and Markita may have just had a conversation about it. I don't know if we talked about it like on our platform at all, but like that traumatized me for a long time. I couldn't sleep for months.
Mm-hmm.
I
You
couldn't
did
s-
say that.
I couldn't
Yeah.
sleep for months. Like cuz I just couldn't get it out of my head so yeah.
Yeah. So, just that was that was a lot in itself in terms of just the atmosphere, the weeping, the sadness, just, everybody is dealing with their own emotions because everybody had their own individualized relationship with her. And she meant a lot to people in different ways. And it wasn't, I don't think, I mean, of course, the hospital gave us the space to, spend with her. I don't know how long that was before they had to take her out.
I think it was
And,
like probably like a maybe like a
hmm
hour or so, maybe give or take an hour 30 minutes. Because I know Marquita was probably about to say it, or maybe she wasn't. But we about to do the twin telepathy thing. But like I know that they were, we only had limited time because they were on the way to come and pick her up.
yeah, the more, yeah. So, once we got through that, and then we went back to our aunt and uncle house where we were staying, and family and friends came over. They sat with us, spent time with us. They came to see us, and I want to say the next day was kind of like boots on the ground to start planning, planning her funeral. And yeah, it's like a switch went off and we went straight into like business mode. It was just, we were focused on taking care of everything, trying to learn everything. And I think, that was the moment that we truly understood the difficulties in like planning funerals, the costs associated with planning a funeral, especially the cost when you don't have any policies or wills or trust funds or anything left behind, no assistance to help pay for anything. It's a lot of money, especially if you are making a decision to have like a traditional funeral with the body in the casket, those kind of things. We learn a lot. Even just getting obituaries printed was a lot. So, that whole process took place with us having to just go through everything. Um, we, I want to say it was us and our uncle. Um, but we went through the process of writing out her obituary, the things we wanted in there. We were kind of on a hunt for like pictures and all of those kind of things. Um, it that process was just a lot. It was a lot of talking, a lot of numbers, and thank God we had family. You know, we had family in that moment. We had family that was there with us to help us make sense of it all. Because it was just, it was a lot. What would you say, Nick?
Well, what I was gonna add on to that as well is the fact that want to point out to everybody and I don't know because and I had my speculations on this the year before, well, no, couple years before, because our grandmother, her mom had passed away
I
a
think that was
couple,
like 3 years. Because Nana passed, what, '09?
no, 10, 10,
9 or 10? It was 9 or 10, something like that.
something like that. So you all get the timeline. So her mom had passed away a couple years before that, and my speculation is I wonder if mommy put us in that room for a reason with her.
Mm,
Um, if she was trying to like silently prepare us for something, who knows? Just a speculation, though. I don't really know. Um,
yeah.
but we were in that room with her. We went with her because she planned out her mom's funeral.
Mhm.
Um, and so the same funeral home, mind you. So our great grandparents and our grandmother and now our mom were all they all went through the same funeral home. All right,
Mhm.
so just kind of put that in the context. So when we had came back or whatever, um, from college, we went to the same funeral home for our mom. But let me get back to what I was saying about so we looked at the whole process. We sat there
Mhm.
and kind of like heard the conversations that were being had, a dialogue and all of that about like I guess like what needed to be done to make the funeral come to life
Yeah.
when her mom passed away. So picking out the casket, figuring out the arrangements, if you want to have it at a church or if you want to have it at the actual funeral home itself. Do you
Mhm.
want to, are you cremating the person, or are you taking them to cemetery, which is also another cost? Are you going to get them a tombstone? Like, so for those people um who may have experience with like that, that's what we had to turn around and do a few years later with our mom. So it
Mhm.
all in a way felt a little familiar.
Yeah.
Because we sat there and watched our mom do it, and she was also kind of
Mhm.
walking us through the process of like, you know, what to do, or kind of putting in our minds, I guess, like how it
Mhm.
works, so that we're,
Yeah.
that my mom was always like kind of big on us being in the know of stuff,
Mhm.
important, just in case in life, you ever gotta do certain things. And so I wanted to kind of put that out there.
Yeah. That's so good that you said that, Nick, because we did. We were a part of those conversations when mommy was planning Nana's funeral. And it did it I don't know if one of us said it or if the guy we were working with at the funeral home who helped us plan our great grandparent great grandparent, because we still had our great grandmother at the time that our mom passed away. So our great grandfather, our grandmother, he was the same guy that helped us plan their funerals. So I don't know if it was him that said it or one of us that said it or something. Maybe we talked about it before, but it literally felt like we just was at the same table not too long ago. Because I mean, literally we were. So it was, it was a full circle moment, but never did we imagine that we would be sitting there for her. So that, that made all of the difference. But just that whole entire process. So anybody that is in the process of maybe planning their mom's funeral or have had to plan in my funeral before, like, our hearts to go out to you because it's a lot. It's a lot, especially if you are not familiar with how that process works. If you don't have the funds to kind of pay for everything, it's a lot. So, we are having this conversation, keeping you all in mind in the process. And we're hoping that you have a village of people around you like we did that will help to fill in the gaps, and still make things happen because that's a lot for anybody to go through, alone. Um, so, I'm trying to think. I don't know specifically how long it took for us. Well, okay, let's go back to problem solving. So she passed away May 22nd. Her funeral was May 31st. So what is that? Nine?
Man, I always forget that date.
Yeah, May 31st was her funeral.
Man.
So it was like, I want to say maybe a little bit over a week that we
Mm-hmm.
had to kind of like get everything together. So we did make the decision to cremate her because it was the most cost efficient route to take. Um So we did, we cremated her, so we didn't have to. Go ahead, Nick.
Oh no, all I was gonna say is also too, so not just because it was cost efficient that we did that, we thought through that as well.
Mm-hmm.
It just happened to be cost efficient, which worked out perfectly, but our mom didn't look like herself, right?
That
So if
too.
you could think
Yeah.
about it, like over time, her illness kind of took a lot away from her physical features.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time she passed away, she looked nothing like herself.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes, me and Markita kind of chuckle about this, and I know we chuckled about it, like, at that time, but like just at the small pieces that, like, we were like, mommy will wring our neck if we put her on display like this.
We
Like,
did. Yeah, she would. She would have had a fit.
she would have had a fit if we would have put her
Mm-hmm.
on display for everybody to see her like this, because go back to like what we've been saying and what we're going to continue to say as we talk a little bit more about our story and stuff like that, is that like our mom never liked people to see her when she was not herself.
Yep.
So that would have been a slap in the face to her, we felt
Mm-hmm.
like. So along with it being cost efficient, we were like, we might as well just cremate her, like,
Yeah.
because she doesn't look like herself, and we're not putting, and we didn't even think twice about it. Like, me
Mm-hmm.
and Marquita had a conversation about it, like like a couple minutes. We didn't even think twice. We were like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's because when they started, I guess, laying out the options, we were like, oh no, we're cremating her. Like, we didn't
Yeah.
even, it was no other thought in our mind about
Mm-hmm.
that. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. I don't want people to
Yeah.
think. I mean, it doesn't matter what people think because of the decision that we had to make. But I also don't
Yeah.
want think. I don't also want people to think that we did it because we were trying to like save money, or, well, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but that wasn't the
We
reason.
wasn't saving no money.
Yeah.
All of it cost for sure, and I can tell you we didn't have a dime to put up to it. So thank God for family because woo, child, it's a lot.
Akito, hold on, and while you right there, real quick, just a small tidbit. While we on this part, for anybody who's watching that is a mom,
Yeah.
um, or a mom figure, please, it's so important. If you can, please make sure that you all are um consulting with some type of financial advisor, or you just
Lawyer.
kind of, like Monkey said, lawyer, any of those type of people, to ensure that you have a trust, a
Mm-hmm.
will,
Yep.
that you have a policy. And
Mm-hmm.
also too, now godmother kind of told us about this too, take out a policy on your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are really, really important, because you don't think about it now while you're living, but when it's your time to go, you want to
Yeah.
make sure that you have things set up for your kids,
Mhm.
right?
For
Like,
sure.
because we suffered tremendously. Um we weren't as fortunate enough to walk away and have things put in place for us. And we were still kids. We're 19 years old. So
Mhm.
we didn't have anything in place for us. Well, technically still kids, but we didn't have
Yeah, we
anything
were
in
teenagers. Yeah.
yeah, we didn't have nothing in place for us after our mom passed. We had nothing.
Mhm.
We had
Yeah.
nothing.
No direction, no nothing. And to add on to what Nick is saying, have the hard conversation. I know it's not a conversation that anybody wants to entertain. Nobody wants to sit down and talk about what to do if I'm not here. But I promise you, even if you just have it once, or even if you just write it down somewhere, type it up in a letter, something, have direction for your kids so they know what you want, what you don't want. Um, and like Nick said, having that money set aside for those things because everybody has their own time. Like even not even just with mom and children, like I feel like these are conversations that me and Nick need to have with each other. And we've talked about it just kind of in passing. We don't like to stay on it for a long period of time either because it's like, oh, we don't want to talk about that. But we do know the reality of it is that one of us is gonna have to go. We're both gonna have to go, but one of us, may go before the other, and these are things that we need to be okay with. We need to normalize having a conversation about. We don't have to get up every day and talk about it or ponder on it or kind of like just keep running it in our mind because then we're driving up our anxiety, we're panicking, we're doing all these things because we're too far in the future. But it's just to put a lot of context behind things and just making sure that the wishes of the people that you love are just, you're seeing those things through. Those conversations are important. They are hard, they're uncomfortable. You may not know what to say, you're not thinking about that. Sometimes you're just focusing on what you got going on today, and that's completely okay. I understand that. But I do think at some point you gotta sit down and have, the hard conversation. So, yeah, all the things with just, planning the funeral we were doing, um, getting the obituaries printed. Our, our mom didn't have like a color scheme, like it wasn't any of those things. Just setting out dates for like the viewing, and those kind of things, which I think we'll go more into like funeral talk for next episode, because that's just, a conversation in itself. But I did want us, we did want to focus on this episode just talking about the biggest shift for us. And that's, it's different when your mom is in the hospital or somewhere and you can still physically go see them. But life hits so different when you can't go into that same hospital, that same place and see your mom. You can't do any of those things anymore. And I think, that next day, knowing, waking up and realizing, that mommy really is gone is where it truly shifted for us. It really truly shifted, and it was kind of hard, for us to digest what was really happening. Even waking up felt different. It was just, it was just a lot. So, as we'll get more into just the funeral and how, the viewing and all of those things in the next episode. But I do want us to go ahead and jump right into our segment of if heaven had visited ours. So just keeping in mind like this week's episode and what we're talking about, Nick, if you had your scheduled visiting hours with mommy in heaven, what is something that you would want to talk with her about this week?
Whoa. It's crazy, and I've been holding this question all the way to the end because I think it ties back into how we started the episode, and I think I would ask her because, and it's crazy because yeah, mommy lived her whole 30s. So, I just would want to have a conversation about what's some advice that you would give us now that we are 30 years old. I feel
Mhm.
like we don't get to have those age transition conversations
Yeah.
with our parent. You know what I mean? And I think those conversations are important.
Mhm.
Just for like some guidance,
Yeah.
just something to just kind of think about, reflect on, and use it as it is applicable to our everyday life. Maybe I wouldn't have did everything the same way. Well, I know that I wouldn't do the same things that
Mhm.
mommy did or the way that she went about them in her 30s. We two different people, but just kind of wanting to just kind of talk to her a little bit about like adulthood and
Mhm.
what space she was in mentally in her 30s, and how she was able to kind of like navigate her 30s, and what's some things that she would advise that we don't do based on the things that she's done in her 30s that may have been like a hiccup, or an
Mhm.
obstacle or hurdle that she was able to overcome. So that's what I think, I would kind of discuss with mommy if having had visiting hours. What would you say?
I would say I think I would go back to my angel check-in, the comments I made on my angel check-in, and just asking her like the things that you were known for doing, is that something you felt like you loved to do? Do you, feel like you left this earth fulfilling your purpose? Um, I think that's what I would want to, talk to mommy about and just kind of pick her brain. I think I'm in a season of my life where that's kind of the hardest part for me, very similar to what you're saying. Just having those like transition conversations. It's like I have a desire to just gain wisdom from her, like, and pick her brain more on like just questions that you don't really think about. They're deeper questions, but it's like you really just want to know. And when the years that we got to experience mommy, those weren't things that I was thinking about. Like we weren't thinking about having conversations about bills and identity and how did you feel and how do you, like, deeper rooted questions. That's not something that a child thinks about. So, I will definitely love to like kind of circle back to those kind of conversations and just hear more about her life as an adult. I think that's what I would say. Yes.
Yeah, I like how we kind of both tied it into like the check-in.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's super cool.
Yeah. So, as always, if you are new here and you've kind of, watched us to the end of this episode, we do end all of our episodes with the cheers. As you all know, grief has its own weight and it's heavy, and sometimes it can be filled with a lot of negative emotions. But we do want to take this time to try to celebrate each other, celebrate ourselves, and find something positive that we can acknowledge and cheers to for this week or month or however you want to do it. So we each take turns sharing what we're cheersing to, and and we drink the drink of our choice. We both have water, glass of water, bottle of water, simple. So yeah, let's get into it. So Nick, what do you think that you would like to cheers to this week?
So this week I want to cheers to first of all, like us, and like just a proud cheers because for the most part I think that we are using this platform to serve others the best way that we know how to. and we're
Mhm.
using this platform to touch other people.
Yeah.
And so I think it deserves a cheers because I think that, the strength that we exhibit to be able to be vulnerable in this space to show
Mhm.
other women or other people in general what strength looks like in the midst of grief.
Yeah.
And strength does come from vulnerability, not just from
Mhm.
being strong and not feeling your feelings. Us like rewriting the narrative and us, utilizing this platform to also help heal ourselves outside
Yeah.
of helping others. So that's what I want to cheers to this week. What is something that you want to cheers to this week?
That's so good. Just kind of reflecting back on the conversations that we've had throughout this episode, I want to cheers to the man upstairs. That's what I want to cheers to. Thanking our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ just for him. His strength is made perfect in our weakness, and nobody can help me. Nobody can make me believe any differently that it was not him who carried us this whole way. Because just our strength alone is not enough. It would never be enough. And I'm just so thankful to have a relationship with him and know him and rely on him and lean on him. So, I'm thankful for that because I oftentimes think of the places we could have been, the people we could have turned out to be, um, and how we could have allowed mommy's loss and the things that we've been through to really take us into a downward spiral. But I thank God that He's kept His hand on us, and that He's really just, He has greater things in store for us. So I want to cheers to that.
And just really quick on your cheers also too, no pun intended by saying that you know, people tend to down spiral after loss. No
Oh, for
judgment,
sure.
there's no judgment in that way.
Mhm.
Um, our heart still goes out to you all as well, who may be having those most difficult times where, you are finding yourself not in the space that you would like to be during your
Mhm.
grief and healing journey. So our prayers, our thoughts, and our love goes out to you, and we hope that it finds you well.
Mhm.
Um, so I just wanted to kind of put that out there, the disclaimer, even though I know I don't have to because I know what my sister's intentions is in saying that. But just in case, viewers may be watching and they may be looking from another lens and
Yeah.
hearing the our words differently. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to
Thank
put
you
that
for
out
that.
there.
Thank you, because I definitely my intentions were not to kind of look down on those who do kind of go, in a downward spiral. Is far from that. Um. So yeah, thank you for sharing that disclaimer. So we are going to go ahead and cheers, and we hope that you will join us and also cheers into and finding something positive that you can kind of reflect on and hold on to for this week. So, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. So we want to thank you all so much for staying with us for this episode. We hope that you enjoyed it, that you took something away from it, that it was uplifting to you, and that you know, that it helps you to know that you are not alone because you're not. If you ever need somebody to talk to or message or anything, all of our DMs are open on all of our platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. If you ever want to just message us, if you need any support or encouraging words, or you need any way that we can help you, we want to be able, to help you. So we hope that you enjoy this Tuesday Circle episode. If you have not, please make sure that you like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please follow us on all platforms at Angel 22. That's Angel, and then 22 spelled with the number two, WENTY, the two again, WO for 22 on all platforms. So, as always, we thank you all so much for tuning in. We love you all. And until next episode, bye.
Bye.